Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It's our Friday news dump episode. We're going to dump all the news you need to know before the weekend. There's some good stuff, there's some wacky stuff, and we're going to tell you all here on Before Coffee, the father and daughter comprehensive news of Planet Earth podcast, where we look up our stories 10 to 15 minutes before we start. We start drinking coffee now, right in the middle of the show. And we don't know how to shut up. So just keep talking. So let's get into our headlines for today's show. Today on Before Coffee, Oxford Street candy shop raided after tourists are charged £900 for 2 candy boxes. And inflation in the Eurozone has struck at 2.2% in April.
And happy Friday, this is Roger, United States, where a dietitian will give you 5 ways to reduce microplastics in your kitchen, and a failed Soviet Venus lander will be falling back to Earth after 53 years of being useless.
In Germany news, AfD party is officially labeled as an extremist group, and Britain struck by unusual power activity hours before the blackouts that occurred in Spain and Portugal.
And why are men shaving their eyelashes and eyebrows?
In culture news, meet the photographers that are giving face to Spain's flooding unsung heroes.
And it's National School Lunch Hero Day, so make sure that you thank the people that serve you that school lunch. It's not an easy job. On May 2nd, 2025 on Before Coffee.
Yep, school lunches are really important for people out there. And for some people, it's the only place they get their food, right? Because of food deserts and stuff like that. You know, their parents can only, get the McDonald's or something. The healthiest food you can get is sometimes at school.
Yep.
Okay. Let's start this off with some lovely segue wheel. Do we know what we're playing today?
Got my lovely pen. Let's see.
We're playing the non sequitur. How is this completely unrelated to what we're talking about? Let's go.
I don't need a pen for that one.
No, I hope not, unless you forget. This first story, I have 2 stories in each section. So this first story is coming out of the UK by Jess Warren on the BBC. Tourists who were charged £900 for 2 packets of sweets led police to discover the largest haul of fake and unsafe goods to ever have been seized from a shop on Oxford Street. The visitors were escorted back to the shop by police officers to make sure they got a refund from the central London store. A few days later, on the 25th of April, officers returned and seized £80,000 worth of fake or unsafe goods, Westminster City Council said in a statement. Adam Hugg, leader of the council, said, "We have known for a long time that U.S. candy stores rip off customers, but charging £900 for 2 packets of sweets is a new low." During the raid, 2 shop assistants ran off and disappeared via a hidden panel in the basement wall. Yeah, they're totally not doing anything illegal. They have a hidden basement wall panel that led to a secret room full of illegal goods and an escape exit to the street, Westminster City Council said. As I said before we started the show, secret tunnel through the candy shop, secret tunnel. According to the council, the seizure includes 2,892 American food items, more than 30,000 cigarettes, 3,182 single-use vapes, as well as nicotine pouches, heated tobacco, travel adapters, and power banks. Food items, including cereals and sweets, were seized for infringements, including lack of labeling and presence of additives banned in the UK. The cigarettes were not in the legally required plain packaging and were missing the deterrent images which appear on tobacco. So, I don't know if they do this in the US because I haven't been there in 7 years, but in Europe, we have packages for cigarettes that have like lung cancer scans and, a guy coughing his lungs out and a baby dying and stuff like that to basically convince you, don't buy these, this is your future, right? So these cigarettes were just the normal, red label, blue label looking cigarette packets, which is illegal against their protective deterrent images, so to say. Because, I mean, we've talked about this before, especially in the UK. They're trying to stop people from smoking completely. That's why they're making it, banning cigarettes age-wise higher and higher until they're going to ban it completely. So if you raise an entire generation who doesn't smoke, then you can't have a generation that's addicted. That's their idea anyways.
They shouldn't ban it. It's just silly to ban stuff. They just create a black market and make people rich. Anyway,
I agree with you. I'm just saying this is what they're trying to do, right? They're trying to create a society that isn't addicted to tobacco by making it age-related. Anyways, the single-use vapes, which include products which claim to be zero nicotine and then had nicotine displayed on their list of ingredients. That's also bad. Yeah, there's a bunch of kids I know here in the Netherlands that are like, no, there's no nicotine in this. There's definitely nicotine in that. I can smell it. Other vapes claimed puff counts as high as 20,000 with tank sizes 4 to 5 times the legal 2 milliliter limit. The council said the number of mixed candy and souvenir stores on Oxford Street has dropped from a high of 40 in the pandemic to 18 as of March 2025. Mr. Hugg said, "Our job is to protect people who visit the West End from being exploited. Continuing raids and court appearances will ensure life is sour for the rogue U.S. sweet shop trade. Hopefully, the fall in the number of U.S. candy and souvenir shops means the tide is going out on this tatty trade." That's right. If you're yearning for some American sweets, try a Toco or any sort of other place that imports stuff. Don't buy it from these side stores because they are very famous for being like, here's $20 for some hot Cheetos. $20 for hot Cheetos! It should not be that much. I'll get my mom to send me $20 worth of hot Cheetos, and it's gonna be like 10 bags, okay? Or maybe more than 10 bags.
You need to get people hooked on that tamarind candy.
Yeah, I love tamarind. Oh man. To be fair, tamarind's actually a very popular sweet in Asia. So there's in the Asian stores here, I can get tamarind candy all over the place. So not the Mexican tamarind candy, but it's still tamarind and it's delicious.
They start importing it and selling it, man.
You got a non sequitur for? I guess that's your non sequitur.
I do.
Tamarind candy.
And my non sequitur. No, that's my non sequitur. This guy sounds like Willy Wonka's British cousin.
Mr. Hood.
Wally Wanker.
Oh,
Wally Wanker, his British cousin. Anyway, here's sorry.
Wally Wanker. All right, my next story is coming out of the Eurozone. A lot of people, especially because of tariffs, were expecting the inflation to have a dramatic change, especially in the European Central Bank. But according to Politico and Jeffrey Smith, or I guess the central bank itself, they reported that the Eurozone has stayed marginally above European Central Bank's target, a fresh increase in services prices keeping the annual rate stuck at 2.2%. That's pretty nice. Of course, that's the whole Eurozone, right? There might be some countries in Europe that are having higher than 2, or maybe even lower than 2, but in an average sense, the Eurozone is at 2.2. Data published by Eurostat on Friday, which I think is today, yes, May 2nd, showed prices rose 0.6% on the month, with strong service inflation more than offsetting declines in energy prices, reflecting the slump in oil markets after convicted felon Donald Trump unleashed his trade tariff offensive. There were a few other immediate signs of U.S. trade strategy apparent in the figures, although officials expect it to have a disinflationary effect in the near term, due to heightened uncertainty holding back businesses and consumer spending. It's like, I don't know what's going to happen to my prices. I'm kind of scared to do anything with my money right now. I mean, even here, right, people are starting to not even buy American products, right? All the coffee in my local corner store, all the Starbucks coffee, like those little packaged Starbucks coffees, they're all on sale because nobody's buying them. They're like €1 now instead of like the $2.50 they were before because nobody's buying them. Oh, that's an American company. I'm gonna buy that.
Time to pick up a bargain.
Yeah.
Well, you buy it now. You're not rewarding Americans. You're giving that merchant money. Anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, that's the thing, right? People don't understand how global trade works because there's also, because of what we're talking about in the previous story, all these regulations Europe has, a lot of companies make their goods in Europe too. right? So maybe the company is originally a US company, but the people who are selling European Starbucks are Europeans, right? The European whatever. And also
Only
you make better off on
politicians-
taxes. You make better off on taxes if you have your European district. You know, they're the ones, that's all European stuff. They are the pay taxes in Europe, and they're not connected to us at all. I think that they don't even probably trade money with each other. I have no idea how
most
multi-conglomerate
corporations-
companies work.
Yeah, like I was going to say the multi-conglomerate, but I just called them
Yeah.
multinational nations.
Yeah.
That's what they are. So they don't look at borders like politicians or what politicians want us to do. They don't look at that. They just go, what's the currency there? That's about it. That's all they care about.
And they're already avoiding tariffs to begin with, way before the tariff war started. That's why they opened up businesses in the countries they're selling, so that they don't have to pay tariffs, right? They're not importing anything. We make it there, we sell it to you there. It's all in this closed circuit, so to say. Yeah.
They go where the money is.
Yeah.
Ethics? Ethics. Forget ethics. I'm back to you, sorry.
There were a few other immediate signs of U.S. trade strategy apparent in the figures, although officials expect to have we already talked about that, the disinflationary effect on consumer spending. Figures are a modest disappointment, as analysts had expected Eurozone inflation to slow to 2.1%. Yeah, it's really tough to get those percents down. However, the numbers are unlikely to cause any dramatic changes in thinking, with a solid consensus at the ECB expecting it to fall back to 2% target later this year. That's due to a part to the strength of the euro, which has risen nearly 10% against the dollar because of the tariffs, I'm assuming. Exactly early on Friday, business surveys published by S&P Global suggested activity in the Eurozone's manufacturing sector continued to fall in April, albeit at the slower rate in nearly 3 years. Hamburg Commercial Bank chief economist Cyrus de la Rubia said the situation remains fragile, owing to the threat of more intense competition from Chinese manufacturers who are now struggling to sell in the US. So if they can't sell in the US, they're going to sell in Europe, the rest of Asia maybe, and then internal companies will have to be challenging China's global capital. There's your economic update from the Eurozone.
Yep, it takes time to destroy America's economy, and this is just part one. So,
and thank you,
this
Ray,
might
for
come in
stopping by
16
for the
parts.
news.
All right, then. So, yeah. Actually, part one of destroying America's economy was Putin getting Trump elected in the first place back in 2016. It's been a slow process since then.
Okay.
Heck.
I guess
If it
I'll
wasn't
roll
for
my second
COVID,
wheel and we'll
old,
go to your story.
If it wasn't for COVID, Putin would have invaded Ukraine much earlier. Anyway.
All
That's
right,
my
I have to make a
non-sequitur,
bad
by the
pun
way.
for you.
All right, bad puns. Love bad puns. And today's stories, we're going to talk about microplastics, or PFASs or PSAFs or whatever they're called.
Yeah, well, we talked about
This
BPAs
is
yesterday, so we're in the same line.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever's killing you, it does not make you stronger because it's microplastics. Anyway.
It just fills your body with plastic.
Eating well. I gotta put my glasses on. My eyes are all blurry today. Eatingwell.com. I'm a dietitian, and these are 5 swaps I've made in my kitchen to reduce microplastics. This is from Brierley Horton MSRD, medical science or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know what MS stands for or abbreviated. Credentials.
Plastic guy.
It's a woman, but anyway, courtesy of Eating Well. Chances are you've heard of microplastics. They seem to be making a lot of headlines lately. Just in case, here's a quick refresher. Microplastics are exactly what the name implies. They're teeny tiny pieces of plastic, less than 5 micromillimeters. What's a micromillimeter, to be exact? They enter our bodies via the food we eat, the water we drink, and even the air we breathe. Your kitchen, unfortunately, is a major source of microplastics. Microplastics are a problem because they build up in our bodies and are harmful. They can throw off your gut microbiome composition, decreasing the good bugs, increasing the bad ones, alter your body's metabolism, and negatively impact your endocrine endocrine function, according to recent research.
We talked about that with the BPAs as well. The BPAs have matched the same exact shape of your hormones.
Endocrine is I believe, your cancer prevention system. Sorry, I'm drinking some microplastics in the middle of my story. Yes, your plastic food storage containers are a source of microplastics. That's why you shouldn't microwave them, and it's often recommended that you hand wash them instead of running through the dishwasher. But plastic lurks in lots of other places in your kitchen too. Don't panic, there are a handful of easy swaps you make in your kitchen. I made mine recently to reduce your exposure to microplastics. Number 1, stop eating out of plastic takeout containers and use real dishes. Research shows that for every 5 out of 10 takeout food orders you eat, you could potentially ingest 105 to 5,520 microplastic particles. Boy, I'm made of microplastics by now, if that's true. To cut down on that exposure, it requires dirtying a dish. Oh no! And some silverware too, since plastic flatware is another exposure. But the reward seems worth it. Those pasta bowls are my absolute favorite. I use them for almost every lunch and dinner in our house. Oh, these pasta bowls. There's no pictures in her article here. So she's talking, of course, like apparently a glass or ceramic pasta bowl. I use them for every lunch and dinner in our house. They're nice enough for guests to use, but affordable and durable enough for everyday use with my school-age daughters. Number 2, trade your plastic sponge for a biodegradable one. Yes, did you know that lifetime release of microplastics and other nanoplastics from standard-sized dishwashing sponge is estimated to be at least 100,000 particles? And if you use a sponge with a hard layer on one side and a soft layer on the other, the hard layer will release more particles than the soft layer. There's a Bio-Go sponge, however, is made from tree cellulose on one side and coconut husk on the other side. This plant-based biodegradable sponge is not only plastic-free, but is also compostable. Number 3, swap melamine mixing bowl for glass, stoneware, stainless steel. There you go. The wear and tear on plastic mixing bowls is problematic. For example, a hand mixer is the potential to leave little abrasions in a mixing bowl, which over time can lead to release of microplastics. However, melamine could also be more concerning. Melamine can be more concerning. A recent study found that melamine also releases formaldehyde with wear and tear, and formaldehyde is a carcinogen. Personally, I'm a big fan of this glass set from Williams-Sonoma. I've had it for nearly a decade and has consistently been my go-to. I always use glass mixing bowls because I never even like plastic. Moves around too much. It's too flexible. Anyway, that said, you got a beautiful she has a beautiful 3-quart stoneware better mixing bowl at Walmart, and it's captioned to a picture. That said, Drew Barrymore's team recently sent me this mixing bowl from Walmart line. It has become my favorite mixing bowl when baking. Way to go, Drew Barrymore. It's fairly lightweight, microwavable, and dishwasher safe. The pour spout is very helpful and doubles as a cute neutral bowl on my counter when I need a little extra decor. Number 4, swap plastic food storage containers for glass or stainless steel. Kind of the same thing. Store things and just wrap them in foil. You know? You don't need to have the plastic. I wrap a lot of stuff in foil. It's just so easy. Just pull out a sheet of foil, wrap it up. And if it's soup, you can put it in the bowl you ate it out of, right? Just put it in a bowl and just get rid of all your plastic. Of all the tips, this is likely most well known, but you know that freezing temperatures can also increase the release of microplastics, particularly acidic foods. Yeah, that's right. So when you're going to store them in the freezer, I learned I placed less of my plastic containers with 18-piece glass with an 18-piece glass set. Not only is it moderately priced, but its glass food storage set passed over a kitchen test every time. Is completely leak-proof, microwaved beautifully, kept an avocado green in the fridge for 3 days, and kept freezer burn at bay when we froze soup in it. So, glass. Let's make the glass makers rich. And then we're not going to run out of glass anytime soon either. So anyway, and number 5, swap your worn out plastic cutting boards for wooden cutting boards, or even just new plastic cutting boards, right? You might be familiar with this too. The mechanical stress we place on plastic cutting boards, or a run of sharp knives over them can lead to release of microplastics. Get yourself a wooden one. Then if you run them through the dishwasher, the heat of the machine will also contribute to the breakdown of plastic. Thus, when you use a wooden cutting board, you will not do that. You'll get micro wood. Anyway, there's your story. Those are your 5 tips for the kitchen. Micro wood. We're all getting micro wood. Sounds like a personal problem. Anyway, I
have a bad pun for you.
Anyway. Okay.
What song gets the plastic pumped up at the gym?
I don't know.
Can't stop the fill-in. Because we're filled with microplastics.
Oh, no. No. Let me groan on that one. We need a groan. Where's your groans?
Good one.
The soundboard takes a minute.
The evil Homer Simpson one.
That's better. I like that one. Okay, our next world failure news, as microplastics are a colossal failure by humans. This is a smaller failure by humans, but still big. It's a failed Soviet Venus lander will fall back to Earth after being stranded for 53 years. Yeah, the Soviets screwed up more than Chernobyl. They screwed up space. This is from Space.com. Leonard David. I can't read all of a sudden. The upper stage of the solar... That's a caption for a picture. The upper stage of the Soyuz booster launching that Venus probe cut off prematurely, leaving... Okay, that's not even starting the story. Where's the story? Let's start the story. A failed Soviet Venus lander will fall... That picture. All right, let's talk about it then, I guess. In late March 1972, the Soviet Union's Cosmos 482 was launched, but that attempted Venus probe ran amok during its rocket-assisted toss to the cloud-veiled world. Major elements of that failed craft remain in Earth orbit. The upper stage of the Soyuz booster launching that Venus probe cut off prematurely, leaving the payload marooned on Earth orbit. There is new news for this old probe. In about 2 weeks from now, or near May 9th or 10th, an unusual controlled re-entry will happen. That's the report from satellite watcher Marco Langbroek of the Netherlands. He has been taking telescope looks at the errant Earth-circling Cosmos 482 remains for numbers of years. What's ahead for re-entry of the Cosmos 482 descent craft, the landing module of the errant Soviet Venera mission that failed over 53 years ago? I don't know. Let's find out. And one hot topic to ponder is whether that landing module intended for Venus, custom made with withstand re-entry through the thick Venus atmosphere, might survive re-entry through Earth's atmosphere intact. I'm guessing it will. The former Soviet Union Cosmos 482 was a sister probe, the Venera 8. That spacecraft in July of 72 became the second craft to land successfully on the surface of Venus. It relayed data from Venus's hellish surface for 50 minutes and 11 seconds before succumbing to the planet's harsh planetary conditions. Meanwhile, adrift around the Earth and headed for its apparent Earth re-entry is the lost to space Cosmos 482 wreckage. The Soviet-style contraption was built to withstand the heat of diving into Venus's cloud-veiled planet's thick atmosphere. The Venus lander mass was pegged at 1,092 pounds, or 495 kilograms, and carries significant thermal protection. And here we are. Exactly when and where the wayward hardware could plummet back to Earth is uncertain. With an orbital inclination of 51.7 degrees, the re-entry can occur anywhere between the latitude 52 north and 52 south, Langbroek said. Over the past months, together with a colleague Dominic Dirks, Langbroek shaped a re-entry model for Cosmos 482 in TUDAT, the TU Delft Astrodynamics Toolbox. Or let's just call it TUDAT. TUDAT is an open-source, multi-platform astrodynamic software developed and maintained at the aerospace faculty at Delft Technical University, where Langbroek works. Ever been to Delft Technical University there? It's in the Netherlands. As Langbroek reports, the Venus probe had a parachute for the upper Venusian atmosphere dive, but I wouldn't bet on that working now, and I would assume that if it survives re-entry, it would come back down hard. Langbroek actually modeled the re-entry, expecting an end velocity in the order of some 145 miles per hour, or 65 to 70 meters per second, on the ground or ocean impact. So, could this piece of space junk survive a hot footing descent back to its home planet from whence it was launched? The risks involved are not particularly high, but not zero, Langbroek points out. With a mass of just under 500 kilograms and 1 meter size, risks are similar to that of a meteorite impact. Stay tuned and heads up. If you live between 52 north and 52 south latitude, that's a big area. That's like all of Earth. I'm sorry, but it's a chance it could hit any of us. So there you are. There's your story.
There's our probing story. Well, I have another joke for you, or I guess it's kind of a pun, but
All
what's
right.
the difference between NASA and the NSA? One seeks to probe Uranus, and the other seeks to probe your anus. Yeah, I knew as soon as I said the first one, you would have got the second one.
The extra A's for anus? I don't know. Anyway.
All right, let's roll our next segue here.
Never mind. Oh my, that's pretty funny.
Okay, now you have to come up with some bad puns for my stories here. Exciting.
Great, I gotta clap.
Let's start off with my first story coming out of Germany. Jeremias Lin on Eurozone. Coming out of Berlin, Germany's domestic intelligence agency, formally designated on today, the 2nd of May, the far-right AfD party as a right-wing extremist group. That's right, guys, it's official. Potentially accelerating discussions over banning the party completely. The agency said its month-long investigation confirmed the party's efforts to undermine the country's free democratic basic order. Until now, only the regional branches in Thuringia, Saxony-Anhalt had been classified as right-wing extremist groups by the authorities, but nationwide, the AfD is now considered a right-wing extremist suspected case. What has previously been treated as a suspected case has now in key areas solidified into certainty, the agency said. In their 1,100-page long internal assessment, that's a long read, the agency found that the party's attempt to exclude certain population groups from equal participation in society is incompatible with the Constitution and the principle of human dignity. So, what we've learned now is that, before, I think last year, right before the election, they were arguing, we should make sure people who are citizens of Germany, but not originally born in Germany, can't vote or something. It's like, you can't say that. You can't say, well, you weren't born here, so you're still not allowed to participate in society. Wait a minute. The assessment does not change the range of tools that the Secret Service may use to monitor the party, but may prompt it to double down on their use. The agency is now legally allowed to deploy surveillance methods, including recruiting sources and financial investigations, as soon as a party is suspected of extremist ideology. It may also monitor the party's communications, but only with prior parliamentary authorization. The AfD is likely to challenge this assessment in court. Okay, so 10 of our members have been found at Nazi rallies. That doesn't mean the whole party is a Nazi rally. So, if you say so, AfD, if you say so. The ruling adds fuel to ongoing debate over whether the party should be banned. A momentum for such proceedings may now gather pace. Any of Germany's 4 constitutional bodies, the Bundestag, the Bundesrat, the federal government of Federal Constitutional Court, can initiate a ban. The AfD is now the most popular party in Germany, according to some polls, at around 26%. Others list its support as equal to or slightly lower than that of the Christian Democrats. Others, I don't know who others is, I guess. Other polls that are done by other people. Some polls done by I wish I could get like an actual citing of who's doing these polls or not, because right now I don't know, but other people are doing the polls, I think. Could be AFD doing the polls, could be the Christian Democrats. The party doubled its share of the vote in February's federal elections, 22%, becoming the largest opposition force in the new parliament. Interior Minister Nancy Faeser described the decision as a clear and unequivocal, adding that the office has a clear legal mandate to act against extremism and to protect our democracy. She stressed the process was impartial and free from political interference. So there's your story on AFD becoming officially an extremist, at least according to their internal, what is it called? A domestic intelligence agency. AFD is an extremist organization. I've been saying it for years, but it's glad that Germany caught up. I'm sure they were tied behind a bunch of red tape and bureaucracy, as Germany usually is. But, are you still there? Seems like you're disconnecting. I think he's disconnecting. Don't disconnecting.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, there you are.
I was loading a page several times.
Okay, so we lost you to that.
I'm here. Okay, so anyways.
All right. You got a funny pun about that?
RAM being through. Yeah, it's like Germany returning to fascism. Well, who did not see that coming? Anyway.
Oh no. I was hoping it would never happen myself.
I've been waiting.
Okay, in more news, we're gonna update on the power outages that happened in Spain with a little unusual power activity in Britain as well. This is from Tara Cobham on The Independent. The UK was struck by unusual power activity hours before large swaths of Spain and Portugal were hit by blackouts that submerged. The Britain's grid operator has confirmed it is investigating unexplained changes in electricity frequency seen early on Sunday morning, which Sunday was what, the 27th of April? Yes, the 27th of April. Also in the evening, the system's frequency must be kept within specific limits for the lights to remain on. Now, I'm not an electrician, but that sounds right to me. Control room staff noticed the first incident at around 2 a.m. at the Hedeby 2 gas-fired power plant in Lincolnshire, as well as the Viking Link interconnector between the UK and Denmark. Oh, I didn't know that the UK and Denmark shared power. That's cute. Then power plant failures were seen again at around 6 p.m. National Energy System Operator NESO, the Quango that operates Britain's grid, has confirmed to the Independent that officials are investigating the unexpected activity, with the cause still unknown. It is thought that there was a disconnection from the network in both instances, which was contained by control room engineers each time. However, a spokesperson said it is highly unlikely the events over the weekend are connected to each other or to the massive system failures that hit the electricity network in Spain, Portugal, and parts of France on Monday, which was the next day. Maybe there was two different people. Maybe it was the same person attacking different networks. But we don't know, because I think they're still not sure what happened on Spain and Portugal. We'll see. They added that it's standard practice to review events such as those that affected Britain's grid on the 27th, and that there were no impacts to electricity supplies or consumers, with the issue resolved the same day. Just hours after the second unexplained power failure in Britain, at around 11:30 a.m. on the 28th of April, one of Europe's most severe blackouts plunged most of the Iberian Peninsula into darkness, only for 6 hours though. I think there's been some disinformation that, or I guess misinformation, that they had no power for 24 hours or something, but that was not the case. A lot of people had power within 6 hours, maybe some places 12, but there wasn't like a full day-long blackout in Spain and Portugal. They declared that state of emergency as the lives of tens of millions of people were upended for hours, only hours, not days, with traffic and transport brought to a standstill and many left without water, Wi-Fi, or a mobile network. Yeah, two of those things are as important. Water, pretty important. My Wi-Fi, how will I live? Power has now returned to households in both countries, but investigators are still looking for the cause of the blackout. It might take longer than a week. I was hoping we'd have some sort of update, but they're still unclear what caused it. but authorities have denied any foul play or a cyber attack. But they might not just reveal that. That might be a state of national security to be like, no, we got attacked. We
don't know what.
Guys, attack us now, or firewall sucks. You know, like they're not going to tell anyone that.
How did they rule out a cyber attack? I don't understand that.
I don't think they have. I think they're lying. I think they're just lying.
Yeah, I think
save their ass.
All you got to do in a cyber attack is disable the alarms. Right?
Yeah.
I think, and then they exceed all their the meters go past the peg mark and everything shuts down. Yeah, that would seem like
the question is, have they ruled out
to...
physical attacks? You know, like did somebody attack a transformer somewhere or a place where they control the powers?
They just say power went out in Denmark?
They haven't. It's weird that they haven't said that didn't happen, right? Nobody was attacked. They haven't said that hasn't happened, so maybe that's what happened.
Right.
That's the first thing I would say. Nobody bombed the power transformer, okay?
No. All they had to do was get ransomware, and then the idiot said, hey, pay your ransomware, we're going to disable all your alarms. They didn't pay it. He said, okay, screw you, and they disabled all the alarms. And who wants to admit
we'll pay you now that you've put the power out on every single place in the country.
Nobody will ever admit they paid ransomware.
Yeah.
Of course, paying ransomware doesn't guarantee that they just aren't going to do it again because they know you're going to pay, moron. Anyway.
I guess now they're just working on making their security better so that they don't have it happen again, maybe. At least that's our theory here, right? Ransomware. What happened yesterday cannot ever happen again, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez said on the 29th of April, vowing to hold private operators to account. Neso confirmed that Britain's electricity network was not affected by Europe's power system incident, with the grid operating under a different condition that can protect it from issues that the continent might be facing. Spokesperson said, as prudent system operator, review all generators, trips, and events on our network as a standard practice. We are still reviewing operational events across the weekend. However, it's highly unlikely that these events are connected to each other or related to the events on the European electricity network on Monday. Great Britain's electricity network was not affected by the power system incident on the European electricity network on Monday. We are working closely with our counterparts across Europe to understand the cause of the power system incident to offer our support. It's too early to comment further on these events, and whilst the investigations are still ongoing. So there's your update so far on what happened on Monday and Sunday, both in the UK, Spain, Portugal, and France. I have seen some headlines, I haven't read the articles, but some headlines which say, this is why Europe needs to invest in nuclear power, for example, because those are harder to hack. They're making power no matter what you do. And I guess technically what they hacked is the transformers, the things that are controlling where the power is going. But like I said,
I wouldn't even put
it's just a headline I saw. I didn't read the article.
I wouldn't even put my electrical grid on the regular internet. What purpose does that serve? I don't understand that. Anyway.
Should be manual, all manual.
Yeah, everybody should have a VPN just to get on, you know. And did you say this happened in Copenhagen, the power outage? Or
No, it was in the UK, France, Portugal, and Spain.
Oh, okay, all right.
But they're connected to the Denmark power electricity.
They were using the power from Denmark, therefore my pun will work.
Okay.
They put the Cope in Copenhagen.
We totally are secure, guys. This won't happen again. We promise.
Oh.
Coping. Big cope.
All right.
Okay, let me roll my segue.
I was wrong about men shaving their eyebrows. It's their eyelashes. Sorry. Eyebrows.
All right, I'm going to have to give you some metaphors or similes for shaving eyelashes, I guess.
Yeah, this is, you want to talk about toxic masculinity? This is where it gets stupid. I want to have shit fly in my eyes. You know, if you are shaving your eyelashes, you are unemployable. I just got to tell you that right now. If somebody hires you for a job and they go home, you can't even keep stuff out of your eyes. Anyway, This is from CNN.com. Why men are shaving off their eyelashes, from Nicole Mowbray. Maybe they can call that a Mowbray. Hey, nice Mowbray. From stopping dust and dirt getting into the eyes of... Do it again. From stopping dust and dirt getting into the eyes to prompting our blink reflex, eyelashes do more than just look pretty, which makes it hard to explain the social media trend of men trimming down or even entirely shaving off their eyelashes in a bid to look more masculine. I'm lost on this one. How does it make you more masculine exactly? You know what makes you more masculine?
I think to these people, being masculine is being ugly. So if you're beautiful in any way, you're a woman. Only women are allowed to be beautiful.
Uh-huh. Well, this isn't an American trend, so don't blame America. Videos posted to TikTok, Instagram, and X in recent weeks. I'm not telling you, I'm telling the world. Videos posted to TikTok, Instagram, and X in recent weeks show men braving blades very close to their eyes. What if that guy sneezes while he's shaving their eyes, huh? What do you think of it? Jesus. I bet you 90% of these assholes won't get a shot, right? They won't get a vaccination because they're scared of needles, but they'll have a razor blade next to their eye. You know? Okay, whatever. Anyway, videos posted to TikTok, Instagram, and X in recent weeks show men braving blades very close to their eyes in barbershops from Turkey to New Zealand in a quest for stubby lashes. While some barbers are seen wielding buzzy electric clippers, others freestyling with just a pair of hair-adjusting scissors and hopefully a steady hand. Shit, you're paying me, I'll cut your eyelashes. I don't give a shit. It ain't my eyelashes. Barber's gotta be like $10, big sign up. $10 for eyelash trim. And just making money like crazy off stupid people. Anyway, eyelashes are vital for both visual experience and eye health, said Vicky Lee, a consultant ophthalmic and plastic surgeon and Imperial College in London in an email interview. As well as acting as a barrier and a trigger for a protective blink reflex, eyelashes help reduce airflow over the eyes, maintaining moisture, keeping the eyes healthy and comfortable, filtering intense sunlight, and reducing glare and improving visual quality. While Lee said eyelashes follow a natural growth cycle, shedding and regrowing over time, she added that there are many reasons why removing them, per the methods seen on social media, is a bad idea. Well, you don't have to tell me. Improper removal can lead to complications. Cutting or trimming eyelashes can cause discomfort and irritation, as it can lead to sharp, stubby end rubbing on the ocular surface, she said, not to mention the risk of causing potential injury to the eye. Not to mention all those tiny little bits of eyelash hair that are going to fly off into your eye and underneath your eyelid and scratch the shit out of your eye surface. Way to go, morons. Anyway.
Very bizarre.
Lustrous lashes have been a significant signifier of femininity or attractiveness for centuries, depicted in art, including works by John Singer Sargent and Pablo Picasso, poetry by Thomas Hood,
and also in cartoons. How do you know that cartoon animal is a woman? They give it breasts and eyelashes, and that's how they do it.
I can't wait for these guys to get their nipples removed. That's what I'm waiting for. That's my next thing. Anyway.
Nipples removed?
Right? I don't need nipples. What are nipples for? Stupid asses. Go all the way, dude. Get your nipples removed.
Wait a minute. Right. If you're removing your nipples, isn't that some sort of gender-conforming surgery? Wait a minute. I thought only trans people did those.
Well, nobody's doing it yet, but that's the next step. Lustrous lashes have
been sarcastic, right? You know. All these...
And there may be Wait, did we spin the sarcasm on the wheel? I didn't see that.
I wish that was a wheel, yeah.
You can add that. And there may be an evolutionary imperative, too. Scientific research from 2005 found that women with more attractive faces also possess higher levels of female sex hormone estrogen, which equates to increased fertility and fecundity. Fecundity? There's a new word. Genetic traits that are appealing. That's what that is. In reproductive terms. But in today's increasingly masculine political climate, that's editorializing. I don't think that's a thing, but you go ahead and tell me that it is increasing. I don't think it's increasing or decreasing. It's exactly the same as it always has been. That's just silliness. Anyway, viewed by controversial online manosphere figures such as Andrew Tate, child molester Andrew Tate, and tech bro jocks like Meta chief jocks. Who calls Mark Zuckerberg a jock? Mark Zuckerberg,
I guess since he started working out.
Yeah, he's got nothing better to do with his time, Richie Rich there, but whatever. He ain't no jock. I mean, oh yeah, Mark Zuckerberg, all them, weightlifting trophies and UFC trophies on his shelf. No, Mark Zuckerberg's not a jock. Let's just clear this up. He's a nerd. There's nerds and there's jocks. There's jock nerds, and he's not.
Elon
neither
Musk
one
is
of
still
those.
a nerd too.
He's still a nerd. Yep, definitely a nerd. A nerd who does ketamine constantly. Anyway, ketamine Karen is another name I got for Elon Musk. Anyway, Mark Zuckerberg recently voiced his support for more masculine energy in the corporate world. Oh boy, I take my masculine advice from Mark Zuckerberg. Telling podcaster Joe Rogan, who again totally cosplays being a tough guy, a culture that celebrates the aggression of a bit more has its own merits. It is easy to see why some men are eager to repress anything about their appearance that could be construed as overtly feminine. Actually, it's not easy to see, but you go ahead and be yourself there, Mark Zuckerberg. Not easy to see at all. I'm not seeing it even slightly, not even 1%. I cannot see why men want to alter their appearance not to look more feminine. I don't understand it. You have to explain it to me. Your explanation is not good enough, Mark Zuckerberg. Sounds like your own personal problem to me.
It's all born out of insecurity. All of this.
His own insecurity. But it says it's easy to see why men are eager to repress anything about their appearance. No, it ain't easy to see. It's easy to see that men have a self-identity problem and they worry about what people think about them. That's what it's easy to see. It's like, hey, have your own identity. Don't worry about the entire world, right? Anyway, I'm just spouting. Even Shady Vance, an outspoken defender of men's right to masculine urges, has fallen foul to the new masculine beauty standards when it comes to his eyes. Of course, Shady Vance looks like he wears mascara. During his television election debate in October 2040, the internet was awash with speculation that Vance had worn eyeliner to achieve his dark, heavy lash look. The chatter became so widespread that disgraced former Republican Congressman George Santos, our favorite cross-dressing volleyball star, weighed in. Of course, George Santos now in prison. Vance does not use eyeliner, he wrote on X at the time. I met him in person before he was a senator. I confirm he has long lashes and they cast a shadow on his waterline. Grow up, people. Okay, who gives a shit if you lose his eyeliner? Use eyeliner. Be yourself, Shady. Don't worry about the world. We don't care. As long as you can do your job, which you've shown you can't. Anyway, while none of the eyelash shaving barbers approached for this story replied to CNN's request for a comment, I do speak to one long-lashed male friend, 48-year-old Spencer Bailey. I've got a lot of flack over the years about my thick, dark eyelashes, said the London-based IT professional, but I definitely wouldn't take the clippers to them. Comments are usually from other men who say they are girly. Dude, if you're getting laid with your long eyelashes, that's being masculine. Okay. The genetic, the DNA and all this, the evolution part of it is you're attractive to women so you can reproduce, not other men. You see, you can't reproduce with other men. If you're trying to be attractive to other men, that's called being gay. And gay men
that's
are
what
not
I'm saying
part
here,
of the
right?
reproduction.
As a woman, if I can have my opinion here, which I'm only one woman and we're not a monolith, okay?
Absolutely.
I think eyelashes are attractive on everybody. One of my first boyfriends I had in high school had really long eyelashes, and I was like, wow, those are the most beautiful eyelashes I've ever seen. Of course, I'm pansexual, so I'm not straight. I'm not only attracted to men, I'm also attracted to women, so maybe I don't count, right? But I just think eyelashes are beautiful on everyone. So shaving eyelashes out of some sort of insecurity is not for me. It's not for me. This is homophobia. Every one of these guys who's shaving their eyelashes is a homophobe, and what happened to them was they saw a guy with long eyelashes and go, and then they went, ooh, I might be gay. I better shave my eyelashes. Anyway, that's my little take on that. While none of the eyelash shaving barbers approach, let's talk to Spencer Bailey. That's where we left off. I got a lot of flack over the years of my thick, dark eyelashes, but I won't take clippers to them.
Comments are usually from other men who say they're girly, despite the fact that I'm also 6'2" and beat your ass anytime I want to. And ask if I'm wearing eye makeup, or more recently, if they're fake. My wife likes them, but they seem really bothersome guys. Again, if you're trying to just fit in with the brosphere, that's cool too. But again, the evolutionary component of this is it's attractive to women. Who cares if it's attractive to men? Unless you're trying to attract men. And that's mission accomplished. You attracted men. Way to go, guy. You know, I don't know. Now when you're sitting there, you're getting your totally not gay gatherings together, you know. Totally not gay.
We all talk about how much you wish women liked you as you do things that no women like. You know, right? Why can't I get a girlfriend? You do literally nothing to attract a woman.
Or you get together with your group of totally not gay men and with your shaved eyebrows and watch the totally not gay UFC fighters grapple each other while they hug each other in the ring for 5 total minutes. They just laying there on the ground hugging each other, and you're going, hug that guy. That's totally not gay, right? Not gay at all. After decades of decline, gender traditionalism is on the rise among Republican voters. Who cares?
Okay, we're not saying there's anything wrong with being gay, right? We're just saying stop lying to yourself.
Donald Trump said it himself. Republican voters are easier to manipulate. All you got to do is play to their prejudice. That's what he said. And then he ran as a Republican and proved himself right. So, congratulations, Republicans. You're stupider than Trump. Anyway, after decades of decline, gender traditionalism is on the rise among Republicans, according to recent data cited by New York Times, which was carried out after Stinky the Clown's re-election. Republicans increasingly endorsed what a survey called traditional notions of masculinity, which of course is shaving your eyebrows. Or eyelashes, which is even stupider. I mean, your eyebrows really don't do anything, but your eyelashes are kind of important. With more than 3/4 of Republican men agreeing with the view that what it means to be a man has changed, and I don't think it's been good for our society. Yeah. So shave your eyelashes. That'll change everything. That'll improve everything for everyone. Same study found that 48% of Republican men agreed that women should return to their traditional roles.
Of being trapped in marriages because they don't have a bank account. That's what they mean.
If you're a Republican woman, you love being a slave. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
Anyway, significantly up from May 22 when it was 28%. So in 2 years, 20% of Republicans decided, fuck it, women belong in barefoot and pregnant. Yeah, there's a party of the future. The proportion of Republican women agreeing with the statement, meanwhile, increased from 23 to 37. Yep, that's right. Trump won the white woman vote. Go figure. They like being owned. Stupid white women. Anyway, sorry, not all white women. I love white women. Just the ones that vote for Trump, I have no idea what the hell they're thinking. I like being an object. I like having no rights. Okay, way to go, moron. Anyway, while these opinions are just that, at least there is little evidence that these thoughts have translated into real-world behavioral changes. More women of prime age are employed than ever before, and the rates of marriage and childbirth are declining. It's a stark reversal of the trends of the past half century, in which the tiny percentage of respondents to the American National Education Studies saying that women's place in the home decreased steadily from almost 30% to 6% in 2008 when the survey's researchers stopped asking the question. Of course, you can say the survey caused the gender roles the reverse, or the gender roles reversing cause a survey. We don't know which came first, the chicken or the egg. Anyway, with women increasingly being perceived as treated as less than men, there's perhaps no surprise that some men are eager to avoid being perceived as feminine. As more conservative, you can perceive me as feminine, you can perceive me as a cow. I personally don't fucking care how you perceive me. I really don't care. You could think I'm a horse's ass. Cool. That's you. That ain't me. Anyway, the more conservative, aggressive, or perhaps more traditional a society makes itself, the more it will really endeavor to try to create two genders who look very different to each other. Okay, just get tattooed on your forehead. I'm a man! There you go, guys. Do that. That way, you will not confuse yourself when you look in the mirror. All right?
Yeah.
And make sure it's backwards, just so you can read it in a mirror, because I know a lot of you are too illiterate to read backwards. Anyway. To create genders look very different to each other. That was from Meredith Jones, honorary professor of gender studies. Honorary professor? What the hell is that? Gender studies at Brunel University of London told CNN that whatever. You couldn't get a real professor? Come on now. Eyelashes are a strong binary, Jones said. There is currently a fashion for one sex to have eyelashes who are outrageously long and thick and black. They seem to have an indicator of high uber femininity, and therefore the opposite has to be true. It has to be true for the opposite gender. There's some logic for you. You know what's more masculine, right? What's more masculine? Having a girl for a girlfriend or having a man for a girlfriend? I think it's more masculine to have a man for a girlfriend, right? If you can dominate a man, hell, that's masculine as hell, right? Shit. So being gay is the most masculine you can be. The example of J.D. Vance being mocked for appearance of wearing eye makeup during the election was fascinating. That was my editorial. That wasn't from the article. Anyway. The example of J.D. Vance being mocked for appearance of wearing eye makeup during the election was fascinating, Jones added, because President Trump obviously wears eye makeup, but his makeup endeavors make him look more tanned, more toned, more chiseled, more masculine. No, they don't. They make him look like a fucking idiot. Meanwhile, influencers and celebrities appear to be eschewing bold lashes in what has been dubbed the full face no mascara movement. Hashtag full face no mascara movement. Could women also be moving away from the archetypally feminine big eyelash trend? While no mascara trend has been gaining traction, with a growing number of people showcasing their natural lashes as part of a broader shift towards minimalist beauty, mascara remains one of the most widely used cosmetic products. Claire Hennigan, principal analyst of beauty and personal care research at firm Mintel, told CNN. In fact, it remains most commonly applied eye makeup in the U.S., she noted, indicating that no mascara trend will take considerable time, if ever, to gain widespread adoption. Or it could just happen overnight. We don't even know. It's just somebody in the makeup industry saying that. But trends are indeed cyclical, and for every action there is a reaction, pointed out Jones. Fashions spring out of the times we're living in. The 1960s were a classic example. One of the complaints conservatives during that period was they could no longer tell the difference between men and women due to the prevalence of well-bottom trousers and long hair worn by both sexes. Oh, they want to be able to tell the difference. Why do you want to be able to tell the difference?
I don't know.
What are you going to do when you do tell the difference? You going to rape one of them or something? I'm not clear why you need to tell the difference. How about just leaving people the fuck alone? How about that? Who cares?
You
if
have
can tell
eyelashes.
Anyway.
You must be a woman. In the 2028 official regulation, all men must shave their eyebrows from birth. And then you're going to have a whole anti-eyebrow shaving, eyelashes shaving movement.
Uh-huh. You're right. And in the 1980s, in reaction to conservative Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher's London's club fashion became very adventurous. With these movements are always cyclical, according to this person, Jones. Okay, there's your story on eyelashes. Sorry it's so damn long, but you're just gonna understand what toxic masculinity is. It's the thing that makes you do stupid shit to yourself for no good reason. There you go.
That's it?
There's your story. I don't know if you're like cut off or what. Yep, that's it. Sorry. Sorry to length.
No, it's all good. It's very important, just like my trans story yesterday. It's like, why are people doing this? Why is this happening? And here's my simile. Eyelashes are like tiny umbrellas protecting your eyes from the downpour of life. So if you shave your eyelashes off, that life is gonna get you. So keep them on. Keep your eyelashes on.
I see somebody with eyelashes, I'm tempted to just throw sand in their face, right? Because that blinking isn't going to save them. Even blinking isn't going to save them. Ah, idiots.
Oh, goodness. Okay, now let's get ready for our culture segment here. Your final segue. A limerick! Hooray! More limericks for you, because I know you like writing them.
Is it one story or two stories?
Just one story. We're gonna talk about the people who helped the mud-covered volunteers in Spain. All right, there's been floods in Spain for a while, especially as our climate slowly explodes. and it gets warmer and more things and water and all the stuff. This is from Theo Ferrant on Euronews Culture. After fatal floods swept through Spain in 2024, a photographer, Raul Belichon, captured powerful portraits of mud-soaked volunteers, a series that later won acclaim at the Sony World Photography Awards. So let me actually load in this story so we can see it on the pictures, so we can see the pictures. Yeah, that's fine. All right, here we go. Pictures. When torrential rain swept across eastern Spain in 2024, they unleashed one of the most catastrophic floods the Valencia region has seen in living memory. Among the worst hit areas was the small town of Paiporcia, where entire neighborhoods were submerged, homes were rendered uninhabitable, businesses destroyed, and streets turned into rivers of thick, suffocating mud. Nobody likes mud that much. Not even pigs like mud that much. Let me unlock this image. I'll put it here. But out of devastation came an extraordinary response. Young people, many still students, arrived in numbers to unflinchingly clear debris, carry water, and comfort strangers. Photographer Raul Belichon initially came to help a friend whose home had been flooded, found himself unable to look away. Moved by the determination of the volunteers, Belichon set up a white backdrop to document these anonymous heroes in a deeply intimate portrait. Each of these volunteers represents solidarity, empathy, but also hope. Individually and collectively, they showed with their extraordinary effort their commitment to achieving a more benevolent, dignified, and kind world, Belichon tells Euronews Culture. The resulting project, titled Mud Angels, has since received international recognition, including a second-place award at the portraiture category in this year's Sony World Photography Awards. Euronews Culture spoke with Belichon to discuss the power of photography and why, in the face of immense political failure, it was a generation dismissed as fragile that stepped up and got their hands dirty. So I guess the Gen Z Spanish people are considered fragile. Oh, they can't help anyone. The poor things. They're gonna die. Okay, so this is the actual interview coming from Euronews Culture. You've described those 72 hours in Paiporcia as a descent into hell and a revelation of humanity's brightest side. What were some of the most emotionally difficult moments for you during these days? The most difficult moments came as the days went by and I became aware of the magnitude of what had happened. The force of nature and its consequences. When you find out that family or friends have been affected, you can't quite believe what has occurred. I went to help a friend who lent me his damaged house in Paiporcia, the so-called ground zero of the catastrophe. First days and weeks were complete chaos, and I used the house as a base to work from. Being among so much destruction day after day was tough. Seeing people's faces, the elderly walking through the streets full of mud, the queues to get supplies and be able to have a hot meal, affected me emotionally. It reminded me of a war zone. What led you to set up a white backdrop at the foot of the Bridge of Solidarity? After an intense week working in the Ground Zero area, I ended up exhausted, reaching to the end of the day physically and psychologically drained, without a clear idea of how to approach the work. Everything was destructed and covered in mud. A large brown stain of sludge invaded everything. It was striking how the force of water had piled up the cars in the street. There were photographers everywhere, professionals, curious onlookers who wanted to immortalize those Dante-esque scenes as if they were from a dystopian film. I felt the need to get out there. Something struck me. The way groups of young people flocked to the disaster area, willing to help, to distribute food and essential supplies. The wave of young volunteers who went back and forth from the city, and also from other cities in Spain. And even students from other countries, Erasmus students, was what made me focus my attention and think that there was a story I wanted to tell. The story of solidarity and hope. I needed to work on a positive theme amidst so much destruction. Then came the how and the where. I was around the Solidarity Bridge that connected the city with the affected towns. It was like crossing from hell to paradise. At that moment, News images showed how the bridge was filled with volunteers coming and going. It was the crossing point for people walking, and it seemed like the place where I should work. I had the white backdrop available because I usually use it to photograph animals for adoption for the animal shelter managed by Valencia City Council. I knew from the beginning that I should set up the white backdrop to portray the volunteers right after the return after an intensive day of work where they came back exhausted from removing mud. White backdrop once again served as a canvas of solidarity first for animals needing adoption and then for volunteers who helped those most in need after the floods. That white backdrop also helped me to decontextualize the volunteers from the location and highlight, without distractions, their exhausted faces, the peculiarities of their expressions, the peculiar testimony of their gazes, the marks and wrinkles of mud on their clothes, the chapped skin of their hands, their relationship with the tools they clung to, and that had accompanied them through the long hours of hard work. Undeniably, in those days, the memory of Avedon's American West images came to me. I had the book at home and was looking at this wonderful portrait of the human figure is enhanced when you photograph it against a clean white background. There's quite a dignity in each portrait's stillness. How did you work with volunteers to create that tone? Did you give them directions or did you allow them to present themselves however they wished? I set up the white backdrop on a wall near a jazz school, which was also affected by the water and mud, about 50 meters from the volunteers' crossing area and the Solidarity Bridge. I approached them and told them about the project I was doing, and they were all very collaborative. A few meters from where I set up the backdrop, there was a fountain, and there I found many volunteers who were getting ready to wash or remove the mud. I asked them to be photographed before. When photographing them, I didn't give instructions. Perhaps I asked some to come out with their work tools or photograph them in groups. The quiet tone had more to do with the success of photography them at the moment of returning home after an intense day, where fatigue, exhaustion, and psychological burden were reflected in their eyes. Wow. Yeah, I have some pictures here I will show you after the story, but that's a lot of mud. Most of the volunteers were young people, students, as you mentioned. What did their generation show you about courage and responsibility that perhaps others had forgotten? They, with their actions, and paid homage to their own humanity. They shattered the stigma of a crystal generation, supposedly fragile and different, and I wanted to pay tribute to them with photographs. Each of these volunteers represents solidarity, empathy, but also hope, individuality, and collectivity. They showed with their extraordinary effort their commitment to achieving a more benevolent, dignified, and kind world. Did you see a transformation in the volunteers from when they arrived in the morning to when they crossed the bridge again in the evening? They arrived in the early hours of the morning, clean, energetic, delicately young, and disappeared with the light of the day, like angels' ghosts covered in mud, their bodies trembling from the physical exertion, their souls consumed by the emotional extenuation. They crossed a long footbridge that linked ground zero with the urban core of Valencia, from chaos to order, from hell to paradise. And I think, oh no, here's more. There's just more pictures. You mentioned the injustice and ineptitude of the politicians. Do you see this project as an act of protest or a documentation against institutional failure? Failure begins with a lack of prevention, because a large part of the disaster and the loss of life could have been avoided. That is a management task that was not carried out by the institution and politicians. I would have liked to see the prevention action before the altruistic volunteers, which is what I addressed in this project. My work represents the kindest face of the tragedy. If the photography is a form of storytelling, what kind of story do you think Mud Angel tells the words alone couldn't? The Mud Angels focused on the faces of the individuals who showed solidarity, didn't stay at home but went to offer help to the most in need. The story of anonymous heroine, with their efforts arrived in the early days when many of those affected felt abandoned. What do you hope viewers take away from Mud Angels? Is it simply a record of what happened, or is it also a call to action? The Mud Angels speak of hope and solidarity, of seeing someone positive when a disaster and destruction invade everything. It's about still believing in humanity in a more benevolent, destructive, invade everything. It's about still believing in humanity in the more benevolent, kind world where people are still capable of offering help to one another without getting anything in return. I want the viewer, to reflect and ask themselves questions when they see these photographs. For me, That is the action. So, how volunteers responded to their portraits? What were their reactions? Very positively. One of my commitments to them was to give them the portraits for having collaborated on the project. They feel grateful to be part of it and are aware of the importance of making visible the work they did as volunteers. How did it feel to receive recognition from the Sony World Photography Awards? The previous year I had been a finalist, so I received the news of the award with great enthusiasm because they are recognizing my photographic work again. And I am especially thrilled that this project can be shared due to the work and effort that volunteers put amidst natural catastrophe. There it is, your interview with the lovely people at the ground zero of the Valencia floods. And let me show you now the photographs, which you can see hopefully now. I try to show them to you anyways. Let's go to the pictures. Here's the pictures. Right. Let me move them in the right spot. So here's one picture you can see of, for people who can't see, right, people in the audio, it's a young man with wearing a green shirt and some military cargo pants, and he's wiping his nose with his muddy gloves and his muddy pants, very tired after a hard day's work. Oh, that's not what I wanted. I want more photos. Next photo, we've got two men covered from head to toe, well, not head to toe, maybe toe to head to the torso, in mud. Their goggles still on their heads, just wearing their, what do you call them? You know, rain boots, I guess, rain boots, and bags on their legs to keep the mud out of their. Also very tired. Their just eyes are dead. They're ready to sleep. They're ready to go to sleep. Then we've got four women holding their not spatulas, what are they called?
Mucklucks.
Yeah, just
Rain
stuff
boots
move mud.
Mucklucks.
They're also full of mud. Just four women standing there with all their tools and their muddy boots. A guy on a scooter full of mud. I guess he was using a scooter to get to and from the ground zero. Still wearing his helmet, ready to go across the bridge back home. A father and son, I assume, also covered in mud, wearing blue. I mean, they're all just covered in mud. That's definitely the thing you need to keep in mind here. A lot of mud. There's our few portraits from the mud disaster and the brave volunteers who helped clear the mess. And that close that off.
All right.
And onto your day in history. Let me roll my segue. Oh wait, give me my limerick.
Limerick time.
Yeah.
While on my vacation to Spain, instead of sun, what I got was rain. Mud on my street, mud on my feet, but volunteers helped to ease the pain. There.
Amazing, great. Let me play my cheering noise. What was that? Here we go. Crowd cheer and our golf clap. There we go.
Hey, in history. Oh, you gotta spin the wheel.
Okay.
Spin the wheel.
Final wheel. Final segue.
Okay. Go lay back to this mists of time for your
Alliteration.
segue. Alliteration segue. So again, you're always getting this on this day in history. That's weird. Anyway. Your first blip of history is from 1519. Leonardo da Vinci, Renaissance artist Leonardo da Vinci, who we all heard of, who's died in Clos, France. Clous, Clos, I think that's pronounced. Whose works notably painting Mona Lisa were among the most famous of the world. Of course, he did more than just paint. He was an inventor also. He's where the term Renaissance comes from. Leonardo da Vinci is the actual original Renaissance man because he did more than just paint. Anyway, 1536, Henry VIII had his second wife, Anne Boleyn, committed to the Tower of London on charges of adultery and incest. Although likely innocent, she was later convicted and beheaded. I think she was like 17 or something. Henry
way too young to be beheaded, yeah.
Huge pile of shit. Anyway, Henry VIII was a huge pile of shit. Anyway, just ask the Pope. 1611, the King James Version of the Bible was first published. Of course, King James was the first Stuart king of England, Scotland, and Ireland. So that happened in 1611. He decided, hey, we need an English language version of the New Testament. In 1803, the United States purchased the Louisiana Territory from France at a rate of less than 3 cents per acre. I wonder if I can buy that for 3 cents per acre now, huh? Probably not. Which soon proved to be a tremendous bargain, I guess. You got all of the western United States for 3 cents an acre. That's a hell of a bargain. 1889, Menelik II of Ethiopia signed the Treaty of Wachali with Italy, granting territory from northern Ethiopia in exchange for money and weaponry. Interesting. 1892, Manfred Baron von Richthofen, Germany's top aviator and leading ace in World War I, was born in Breslau, Germany, now Warklaw, Poland. He was born in 1892, of course. The Red Baron, that's who he was, and of course famously defeated by Snoopy in World War I. Way to go, Snoopy. In 1903, American pediatrician Benjamin Spock, Dr. Spock, the famous Dr. Spock, who wrote the number of influential works on child rearing, notably Common Sense Book of Baby and Child Care, which was in 1946, was sold more than 500 million copies worldwide. Dr. Spock was very controversial at the time. Mm-hmm. At the time, he was the proponent of, you got a baby in your house, you got to rearrange your entire house to suit that baby. You are no longer living life for yourself. Before that, people just had a kid and said, fuck it, that's my wife's problem. And raise it however you want to. Beat the shit out of it if you want to. So, beating the shit out of your kids was common until Benjamin Spock. Yeah,
Thanks, Spock.
Child abuse? Yeah, thanks. If there's less child abuse in the world today, you can thank him. 1920, Negro National League, founded by Rube Foster, held its first game. The NNL was considered the first successful professional baseball league for African Americans, and notable players included Cool Papa Bell and Satchel Paige. Of course, the Negro Leagues now have their records counted since the last couple of years. I think wasn't it last year? Wasn't it like you did a story about this, that they finally did it last year? Or Black History Month? Last year, the year before. Yeah. It's since we started the show, but I remember reading the comments and I was like, they didn't play against the white players. And of course, the point was the National League and the American League didn't play each other either until the World Series. So you're going to get rid of all their records because they didn't play each other? Huh? They still played the sport, right? They still they still use the same rules. Yep. All right, and baseballs, and if you say, well, they played in smaller stadiums, go to Fenway Park, go to Wrigley Field. Those are tiny, tiny little stadiums. They're little tiny boxes where home runs fly out of there. Or you can go to one of these stadiums that is huge fields where there's lots of foul territory. Yeah. So the pitchers love it because foul pop-ups don't go in the stands. They can be caught. So there's stadiums like that. So there's all kinds of things in baseball that can be screwing with the statistics, not just who played who. So screw the racists. Negro League statistics should have been counted all along, and probably the biggest home run hitter, probably the Rube Foster was actually a great player before he founded the Negro Leagues, and he continued to play while he was in. Anyway, in 1921, let's move forward in history. Bengali director Satyajit Ray, who brought Indian cinema to world recognition with the Apu trilogy, was born in Calcutta, which is now called Kolkata, which I don't care. I'll call it Calcutta. It sounds about the same. 1935, the peasants of Luzon, Philippines, rose up in arms against oppressive land tenancy law. Way to go, Philippines! Screw them rich assholes. Rise up. Rise up wherever you are against rich assholes. Rich assholes are assholes, and their entire life, their entire existence is tied into maintaining their power or getting more power. Yeah. Why do we need people like that? We don't need people like that. Anyway, in 1946, an attempted prison escape by 6 inmates at Alcatraz resulted in 2 days of violent fighting, which became known as the Alcatraz. All right. Let's make a movie about that. 1997, British
they
Labour
have.
Party leader Tony Blair. Maybe they have. British Labour Party leader Tony Blair, and major disappointment, became Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. He was the youngest person to hold office since 1812. That's right, Labour Party got power and wasted it by capitulating to George W. Bush, which was really, really stupid. Stop capitulating to Americans. We don't know what we're doing. We have proven it time and again. Just because we got money doesn't make us smart. Anyway.
I wish it did. Then there'd be smart people.
Yeah.
More smart people.
Yeah, so Tony Blair said, I better go along with George Bush and his phony doctored fake evidence, which, he did. They're yellow cake heroin. Yellow cake uranium that he was supposedly spreading that fake rumor about Saddam Hussein, helping us kill, hundreds of thousands of people and soldiers and civilians. Pointless freaking war. Way to go, Tony Blair. Could have been great. You ended up being a lapdog. 2000. And this day, U.S. President Bill Clinton announced that the highly accurate GPS would be made available to the public. The satellite signals had previously been degraded for non-military use. That's right. A lot of people don't realize, before this happened, your little GPS on your phone wouldn't have done shit for you. You know why? Because it puts you 100 meters off from where you actually are. Okay? So if you would have had a GPS then, what they do is back in those days, they would have a spoofing satellite that would make every device that you have on the ground off by 100 meters until you got your device encrypted. And when you got your device encrypted, then you were accurate to within 1 meter. So Bill Clinton unscrambled the GPS in 2000 so airplanes could use it. That was the reason he did it. So airplanes are all guided now by GPS. Almost completely. 2011, Osama bin Laden, founder of the militant Islamist organization Al-Qaeda and mastermind of numerous terrorist attacks, notably the September 11th, 2001 attacks, was killed on this day, May 2nd, 2011, by U.S. forces in Abbottabad, Pakistan. Of course, Osama bin Laden, one of those chickens that came home to roost for the United States. We supplied him with weapons and training while he was fighting the Russians with the Mujahideen and Afghanistan in the 70s and 80s. And once he kicked the Russians out of there, he decided, we're going to kick all Westerners out of here. And that's what he did. So, again, the United States got the brunt of his, what do you want to call it? Animosity, because we're the ones that helped Afghanistan defeat Russia, and then as soon as the war was over, we got the hell out of there and said, screw you, Afghanistan, you're up on your own. So yeah, Osama bin Laden had a point. He's still an asshole. 2015 on this day, Princess Charlotte Elizabeth Diana of Cambridge, the second child of Princess William and Catherine, was born in London. So happy birthday to Princess Charlotte, who is now 10. She's already 10. Old enough to be queen, I swear. Anyway, our featured event, 1939, Lou Gehrig. His 2,130 game streak ended on this day, 1939. New York Yankee great Lou Gehrig, the Iron Horse of American baseball, ended a streak of consecutive games played, setting a record that stood until 1995. It was broken by Cal Ripken Jr. Might have actually killed him, right? Because he did die from ALS, and he probably, which disease is named after him, and it probably, if he would have taken some rest every once in a while, probably would have. Of course, all he did was play first base. I mean, let's face it, he didn't do a whole lot while he's in the field. He played first base. You stand there all the time, even when you're playing, right? So anyway, consecutive streak ended, and then he made his famous speech, and then he died later that same year, I believe. He didn't live much longer. Our feature biography, Catherine II. Empress of Russia, born, I don't know if she was Catherine the Great, probably not, I'm not sure. Which one was Catherine the Great? They should be telling us this. Anyway, maybe she was Catherine the Average. Born May 2nd, 1729, in Szczecin, Poland. Died in Pushkin, Russia in 1796 at the age of 67. Other birthdays today, Theodor Herzl, Austrian Zionist leader. Manfred Baron von Richthofen, we did that one. Saad Yere, Indian film director. Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, American professional wrestler and actor, born in 1972. 1975 is the birthday of David Beckham. Bend it like Beckham, British athlete, born in 1975. Happy 50th birthday to David Beckham. And National Day calendar. It's not a whole lot of things today. It's Lunch Hero Day, School Lunch Hero Day, National Space Day, very fitting as we're talking about space today. It's National Life Insurance Day. It's one of those major ripoffs in America is buying life insurance, and then somebody dies and they only pay you like, I had a $100,000 policy, and then they pay you $1,000 out of it. And it's like, well, you didn't make 9 payments. You only made 8. Oh. So I just gave you money and you give me nothing. Okay, fine. Anyway, National Truffle Day today. Those are your days. May 2nd,
Expensive
everything.
mushrooms.
Everything. Your extensive long stories, your mispronunciations, your space debris flying back at us, your floods, everything. Your stories, your limericks, your puns, everything. And of course, your alliteration headlines about to come for May 2nd. 2025 on Before Truffles. National Truffle Day. Truffle the candy, not the one you dig.
As I always say on May 2nd, life, lunch, and Lou. That is your alliteration.
Life, lunch, and Lou. Who's Lou?
Love, what does it usually say? Live, love, laugh. Life, lunch, and Lou. Every May 2nd. It's also World Tuna Day, for one's favorite large fish that you can just collect unendingly. And tuna has been a great ally in pantries around the world. Tuna is rich in omega-3s and also contains minerals, proteins, and vitamin B12 and other advantages. Due to its amazing quality, tuna has become threatened by overwhelming demand and overfishing. So the UN General Assembly designated May 2nd as World Tuna Day 9 years ago to highlight the importance and responsible fishing of tuna. And significant progress has been made. In 2017, 75% of tuna catch came from healthy stocks free of overfishing. So good job, everyone, for protecting the tuna and not making them all disappear from the oceans, because that would suck. Tuna is a great animal, not just to eat, but part of the biome that is the ocean, the Great Pacific, I think. Pacific Ocean? I don't know if they're in the Atlantic Ocean, but I know they're in the Pacific Ocean. The Indian Ocean.
They're in every ocean. They're in every ocean.
23% is caught from the Indian Ocean, 11% caught in the Atlantic, and I guess 33% are everywhere else, including the Pacific Ocean. Yes.
Right.
But
that's a lot, though. 33%.
That's a lot of fish.
Full third. Yeah.
Did you get my link?
And they are saltwater. Yeah, I've got the link.
Okay. So what were you saying? They're in saltwater?
I'm saying they're pretty much saltwater. You don't see a lot of freshwater tuna. I haven't seen any. So anyway, yeah. But most of the earth is saltwater. So there you go.
Yeah. So this has been Allison here from the Netherlands, Roger from the East Coast of the US, as we tie off another week, another Friday news dump. I hope you've learned everything in this hour-and-a-half long podcast. I think it's a new record. We're slowly getting to 2 hours long here. We will see you next week for Mucking Fun Day. Have a good weekend on us. 100%. Don't worry about anything, because we've told you everything that's going on. You don't need to know anything else for the weekend. So have a good one. Drink water. Wear sunscreen, especially as the weather gets warm. And here is our Thames water pollution mic drop moment.
Yeah, okay, that's deep.
This is from a series where a 7-part series, I think, of walking the entire Thames from source, or I guess from the end.
Source to sea.
2 miles off
Source to sea down the River Thames without leaving it. He doesn't even actually leave the river except to sleep on the banks.
I'm going to take this opportunity to do today's river test.
And now we're doing a little water test.
Because I've passed a couple of times.
Every 2 miles, I think he does a water test or something.
I'm hoping that
he does it when he gets to clear water. He doesn't do it in a muddy water, because that would be unfair, right?
Yeah.
Call it 5.
When he gets to the clear water, he checks it for toxins.
The pollution is already beginning.
And now let's try
only 2 miles from the source.
And you'll see,
I don't think I'm seeing.
He did a
things.
test where he
I think
first
there is
started, so you'll
Yeah.
probably see that
tiny bit of
baseline
pink.
from where he
Yeah,
first
we'll
started.
see
There
the
was no
graph
toxins.
soon.
2.5 is so faint anyway.
Yeah, from no
I'm gonna
toxins
call
in
it
the
that.
water.
Well, there we go. I think
This is
I've got my first
either
proper
a-
But
reading.
look
I
at
think
he's
it's
so happy to
section
be doing this. Yeah, there you go. There's our
substances that I'm
baseline
testing
of
for.
nitrates, and of course
that
he's
means?
starting to get into
I don't
farm
actually
country,
know,
so there's going to be a
but
lot of
I will,
nitrates
I'll
in the
find
water.
out at some point.
And for
You've
anybody
missed
who
all the
didn't take
crap.
2 years of environmental science like I did, nitrates are bad because they make all the plants grow, and then they kill everything in the water because none of the sun
Under we
can
go.
reach
I
into
was
the
not
water.
even
All the
thinking
plants
that
block
this
the
first
sunlight,
bit,
and then
the first
everything
12 miles
dies.
from Thames Head to
That's why you
Cricklade
don't want too much
would take
nitrates in your
like
water.
a day and a half. It's now getting into afternoon of day 3.
Uh-huh.
I'm still not there. I know this is what I signed
Some
up for.
thick weeds here.
But don't feel
See,
sorry
lots
for
of
me.
nitrates if there's so much
But-
plants in the water like this.
I just want to be done with it. I'm close.
Yeah.
And that's how you
I'm
dry
less
up a
than 2
river.
miles
You
now.
know, the plants just
But-
suffocate
Yeah.
it, and then you
Those
just have
2 miles could
plants.
easily
Oh,
take
and
a
he's
few
passed-
hours.
He's
Where are we
passed a number of farms
Oh,
already,
this
and
is
now he's about to
scummy.
pass
I don't know what part of the bend I'm on. I guess it bends around.
sewage
this way.
treatment
Let's
plant.
try and
Oh yeah, you're
get
right.
through this direction.
Hey, you can see all this gross muck. I would never even look at that kind of gross algae muck. Ugh. For me, that's like, oh, this water is
Can't
polluted.
even rely on stuff.
That's the first sign. If the
hold on
algae
to.
is happy,
There's a mixed blessing,
you
I
have
guess.
polluted water.
'Cause at least I can break a path.
Right.
There's even a tree growing over
This
here.
would be
Yeah,
a
look
lot
at this.
simpler without the bag.
Yeah.
Okay, just gonna float you. It's like a different world. in
Goodbye,
here,
my
isn't it?
bag. I'm
Yeah,
sure you found a
Noah's bag
crocodile
is,
in here. I'd freak
Try and
out.
get around.
There's no way, right?
Like my chances
That would-
of that
Came
one,
in.
Not in England.
Somebody released a
Getting
caiman
deep
into the
I'd like to
Thames.
show a little appreciation to my backpack here
yeah.
because it kept my kit bone dry for the entire trip. It's the 25-litre waterproof backpack from Jackson & Cole, and I bought it just before setting off because I needed something
Why
that
is
could
he
hold
hoping?
up
I
to
don't know.
exactly this
You
kind
want
of
it to be-
abuse. This isn't sponsored, but if you'd like to pick up your own, I'll leave an affiliate link to it down below. It's just a game trying to find a route.
And also donate money to cleaning up the Thames, I guess, if they even have an organization for that.
Oh yeah, he's doing this
Oh,
for
it's not
environmental reasons. There's
Yeah.
a reason he's doing it. Yeah.
And this
Thankfully,
isn't for the officials. This is for
beds is
people.
actually
Because if you
pretty
get enough people to
clear
care, right? We did
obstruction.
that
Oh,
article a long
it just
time ago
doesn't
about
mean.
how many people you need to
Yeah, the
care
first
about
2 days.
protests to actually make change, and they were like, you only need 10%
Get
of
out the
people to
way.
care about something for the government to actually like, oh shit, we should do something about this.
I'm very glad we don't have crocodiles.
That's
around.
really
that was
cool,
his
though,
third
the
test,
water
actually,
kind
not
of-
his second one.
Where the
It'd be a
tree
much
and the
scarier
water
undertaking
kind of made a
if we
tunnel
did.
together.
Yep. Trees are part of the
Freedom.
filtering system, but they don't do a lot of good after this because the river just gets wider and deeper, and the
That was
filtering
awful.
system doesn't
That
do
was
shit.
absolutely
Yeah.
awful.
Well, we made it free of the jungle.
Oh, I
Swamp,
don't like this at all. Okay,
the
Back onto
swamp
the
plants are good for
farmlands
the
we
water.
go.
don't come into the water. No, no, no.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.